Well, welcome back to another episode of LorcanaChats. I'm your host, Chris, aka Questing for Lore. And in today's episode, I sat down for a chat with Colorislaw, a fellow content creator and up and coming caster in the Lorcana community. Come listen in as she and I talk about her experiences creating her Allies on the Other Side multiplayer gameplay video series. Ugh, that's a mouthful. Her experience casting at lots of events, and the current state of things in the community. Let's get to it. Well, hey, Color, how's it going?
Good. How are you?
Doing good. Hopefully everything actually records this time.
I mean, hey, there's always some hiccups, right?
Yeah. For everybody listening, we just spent about 30 minutes talking to each other, and apparently OBS decided to stop recording about 5 minutes in. So here we are. We're gonna start over. So,
The lost
um,
files, they're just gone forever.
yeah, I know, right? And I looked at it and I was like, this can't be right. So anyway, try number two, take two. All right. Well, cool. Well, so thanks for being here. I really appreciate you sitting down and talking with me. So one of the first things I like to do is kind of get the origin story for the people that I talk to. How did you start out with Orkana? Where did you first hear about it? What's kind of your journey so far?
Yeah. So I played Pokemon kind of like everybody else did there for a while, when I was younger, but I didn't really get into TCGs until a friend of mine who had been begging me for years to play Magic the Gathering told me that there was going to be a Baldur's Gate set that was like a D&D Baldur's Gate thing, and it was going to be all themed around. So I was like, all right, I'll check it out. And yeah, I mean, that was kind of like, oh, I was immediately hooked. So just playing Commander at first, and then I would be playing it casually, like on Fridays, like go to the game store and just kind of play and build different decks and really get into it and always like trying stuff. But I was like pretty competitive.
Hmm.
So I found myself not really enjoying that kind of like multiplayer experience because I was like, I kind of like, I just wasn't what I wanted. And then I would be playing like limited or doing pre releases or like playing on arena and stuff. And I really loved that. And I loved like that one on one kind of like competitive environment. But I didn't love Magic the Gathering because of like the different stuff, like the game itself and the
Yeah,
mechanics and the lands and the like all that. So
it's a lot. Yeah.
I it was a lot, and then like you can get like at least in Lorcana, like if you get ink, like you don't have enough ink, maybe you should look at the construction of your deck, or bad things happen in shuffling is like a thing. But
Hmm.
lands are just like really.
Yeah.
There's 32 of them in here.
It's just a
There's
thing.
32
Yeah.
lands in here, and the deck's only 60 cards. Like you know what I mean? So
Yep.
yeah, so that kind of like drove me to like want to play less and less. And then I think it was around like the D23 when they announced it, and everybody was like, "Oh, it's like a Disney card game. It'll never last, and we're not going to pay attention to it." And it's Disney. Well, I love Disney. I've always really loved Disney,
Yeah.
and I was like, "Well, hold on, maybe there's something to this." And then they spoiled the Amber Hades, the 4-drop that
Hmm.
gets something back from your discard. And I love kind of like the graveyard recursion from Magic the Gathering. So I feel like they kind of bamboozled me a little bit because they were like, here's this
Like dangling
like
it. Take a
discard,
look.
like,
Yeah.
yeah, like
Yeah.
discard synergy. Turns out it's not great, but it's fine. So
Hey,
they kind
it
of got me
it
with that.
wasn't
Yeah.
terrible at the
It
time.
wasn't terrible. Like Hades
Yeah.
Get Back Hades was a high that
Yeah.
I'm still searching for, but it was definitely the mechanics and the flavor of that. Like this is the Lord of the Dead or the Lord of the Underworld, and he's getting something back from the discard. And I was just like, oh, the flavors were good. And then the more cards that were spoiled, the more I was like, the flavor and the mechanics of this game are very good. And
Hmm.
it just felt very good. So of course, I downloaded the program of, you know, Yield that we are not to talk about anymore,
Yep.
and
Yep.
just kind of grinded games forever
Mm.
until we were no longer allowed to do so, which was sad.
It was. It's a
So
sad day. Yes.
it was very sad.
Yeah.
And but because it went down, I just kind of had to like, okay, well, is this going to be the end of this game for me? Or do I love it enough to just reach out and bug people and, hey, let's play in paper or let's go to the store? Like, how am I going to facilitate this absolute obsession that I still have?
It's a good way to
And
put it. Yeah.
I mean, yeah, like, so that kind of like snowballed into meeting like a bunch of different people and then going to DLCs and reaching out and just finding like-minded people and yeah, I got invited to the SLTC Discord, and I've kind of just been like bugging all of them ever since, and it's been one of the greatest things ever. So
nice. So have you been to a couple of DLCs or just one of them, or?
I went to Atlanta, I went to Seattle, and I went to Vegas.
Oh, okay, nice. So you got to kind of see the progression in the quality as they
Yeah.
went on. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, yeah. Atlanta was crazy. You know, they would
Yes.
like,
I was there
oh,
too.
pairings are up, and everybody was like, oh god, like, you know, you're just like walking. That's actually like I met R&B in Miami during like one of their first kind of like, they were like, this is the biggest whatever, blah blah blah. So I met him there like briefly, and then in Atlanta again, I was like being shuffled, and then I just like bumped into a jersey and it just said R&B, and I was like,
Yeah.
oh, that's that guy. Like, you know, we were all way too close. It was just so,
Yes.
it was very
Oh my
we were
gosh.
all so close.
And then
So
Melee going down. Oh my gosh. That
all
was,
day, yeah,
yeah.
which yeah, pairings were crazy, but
Yeah.
yeah, and then like, yeah, by the time I went to Seattle, it was just like this smooth sailing. We even have water. It was great, you know. So,
Yeah. It's not just a giant
yeah,
concrete room. Yeah.
yeah, it's great, yeah. But
Nice.
yeah,
Very cool. Very cool. Um, yeah. So, and you've been on lots of other shows since then. You even have your own content that you
yeah.
create. Um, so tell us a little bit about Allies on the Other Side.
So Allies on the Other Side came from this kind of desire to so I am highly competitive, and I think that's why I was drawn towards Lorcana, like pulling away. And I think that was my issue with Commander, is I started off with a casual format, and I realized I was very, very competitive. And so being very competitive in your casual pod is sometimes fine, sometimes not fine. Most of the time you're just gonna like not have friends anymore.
Yeah.
So I was like,
Yeah.
how do I get like, and that's what I was saying, like about 1v1 is like we sit down and I make the best play to make sure that you don't win. And I, you know what I mean? So like there's no feelings, there's no politics, like you just, I'm here to beat you and you're here to beat me. So whatever I do isn't mean. It's just I'm trying to win the game now. So you know, so I liked that, but I think I got to a point in Lorcana where we had was set 7 and it came out, and the beginning of sets are very difficult because deck building is a very, it's a separate skill from playing the game.
Oh yeah.
Playing the
Definitely.
game is one skill, and then building decks, like, you know, meta decks especially, that's another skill, and not a lot of people have that, and it takes a long time to develop. I do not have that. So the beginning of a set is a very right, it's a very
Yeah.
like I have an existential crisis, I have some identity crises, you know, I just kind of freak out, for lack of a better word. So we got about to halfway through set 7, and then they banned Hiram. And I was like, well, and it felt like the beginning of a set all over again.
Yeah.
And I loved it
Like cut off
because
at the knees there. Yeah.
yeah, like I loved it because I feel like it needed to happen. And I'm not gonna get into that, but I think that it definitely needed to happen. And it gave all the people that are very good at deck building a lot more room to be creative and do all those things. I was again having a crisis, and I couldn't figure out what I wanted to play, and I had to learn new lines and this, that, and the other thing. And then also kind of have testing is just, you know, without an online client, it's something. So I won't get into that either, but
It is tough. Yeah.
it is. So I was like, I still love this game, and I'm still watching people play, and I'm still, you know, very, very involved and everything. And I'm like, I think I just need like a breather, you know? And so I was on the ICL, I think it was like an after show, and I was talking to Luke, and so I was talking like Wonderland and Sailor and everybody. And I think we were talking about like infinity formats, and like, you know, I don't think at that point like rotation had been announced yet. So we were all kind of like speculating on like the future of Lorcana and things. So was talking about multiplayer, and all of them just anytime you talk to a competitive player about multiplayer, they're like, bah, no, absolutely not.
Not gonna touch it.
Yeah. So then Luke was mentioning this format called Heroic, which is very similar to Commander. It's 100 singleton deck. You have your storyboard, which consists of a hero, which would be a legendary. It doesn't have to be a hero; it can just be a legendary. You have your ally that does have to have the ally tag, and then you have a song that has to be singable by your legendary character.
Okay.
A lot of people have asked me if you can have Dime be your legendary, and I'm like, literally no. Like no.
That would be yeah.
Like, you can't have Dime is not a character. There is some theming to it, but at the same time, it's just like, no. It's a funny question, and it's happened from multiple people. So I was like, okay. So it does have to be a legendary character because your song has to be singable by your legendary character. But
yeah, good point. Yep.
Yeah, so you do have so those are 3 of your cards, and then you have a 97 card deck, and so that would be your 100 cards for for this format. And Luke was telling me about this, and I was like, oh, this is like fascinating. I was like, at that point, I had never played multiplayer in Lorcana at all. Just it seemed, to be fair, miserable. So because every time it was just people playing like fun decks, but in 4 people. I'm like, if you guys just played one-on-one, that would take like way less time. What are you doing? So like I couldn't wrap my mind around it. I was like, what are you? But the option of having like a singleton deck sounded really cool, just because maybe I think of it like my commander background. So thinking like if you want to draw cards, you could just put 4 friends on the other side, 4 genie, and call it a day. Like I'm going to draw cards consistently.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's a singleton card deck, you can throw a genie in it, and you can throw a friends on the other side in it. How are you going to find it? What's your plan?
Yeah.
So it kind of, I was like, okay, this sounds really interesting. And then Luke was saying, he's like, oh, I didn't really like it, but it turns out he played like Amethyst Diablo, 1-drop, and then he played the legendary Diablo, and then he played Let the Storm Rage On.
Okay.
So the thing with your storyboard is each time you play it out of your storyboard, it goes back into your storyboard with a +1 tax. So it acts like a second hand.
Ink tax, right?
Yes, an ink tax.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
So you play your baby Diablo. It costs 1. It gets banished. You draw your card. You put it back. Now it costs 2. That's fine. Ink tax doesn't apply to cheating things out or shift cost or like the new Lilo or like Sheriff of Nottingham. He's not actually a legendary, but you see what I'm saying. So like if there's an alternate cost shift, the ink tax does not apply to that. Okay. So there are ways to kind of get things out of your storyboard without having to pay that egregious tax over and over again. So that's what Luke was doing. He was having his little 1-drop, and then you shift it, pitch an action, and you can just get Diablo out. Well, he's playing legendary Diablo against 3 other people. First of all, now you're the villain.
Oh no.
Because legendary Diablo says each card that's drawn. So you play your Diablo, you shift it, you quest, you do whatever you just get the Diablo sideways. It's exerted now. You pass your turn, you draw a card. If that person doesn't deal with your Diablo, you pass your turn, you draw a card. That doesn't draw a card. And by the time you get back to your 20 turn,
cards.
Yes, exactly. So you're immediately the villain. Nobody's going to let you do anything. Even if you had a deck and it was just a bunch of silly little vanilla, tutus, nobody's going to let you do anything because you draw in too many tutus. You know what I mean? So it's like, so Luke was like, I didn't have fun. And I was like, well, that's why you didn't have fun, and he's like, but everybody had removal. I was like, yes, but, and then the more I got to thinking about it, I was like, I know he didn't have fun.
Yeah.
But I was like, that environment sounds like it could be fun. And like what was missing from that? And it's because Luke is a phenomenal player. He is a DLC winning Magic background. He's a very, very impressive player on all fronts. And he's playing in a casual setting where he was doing a disgusting broken thing that not many people were prepared for or ready to like let him get away with, because it was clearly the most powerful thing that was happening. So they went for him immediately. And he had no fun. So I was like, what if I can get everybody on the same power level and let them kind of do a broken thing? Like we're going to build these decks and they're all within this parameters, and I want you to go all out. I don't want you to have a franchise in mind. I don't want you to have princesses unless you want to, because somebody cooked us with microbots. Shout out to Attack for Two. Absolutely rolled us with microbots.
That's awesome.
It was the most incredible thing I'd ever seen. However, it was a very again, I mean, I don't, he's an amazing, phenomenal player. Dave is, he's another incredible deck builder. And so I'm pitching this idea to all of these people, and they were like, absolutely not. So I was like, oh gosh, okay, well, let me make a video and try to like this is what I'm trying to do kind of thing.
A teaser trailer kind of thing.
Yeah, like a little thing. So I framed it in a way that I want competitive people to come on and build decks to the best of their ability. I want them to do the broken thing. And that's why I always ask at the end of the game, like, do you feel like you did the thing? And it's the point is not to win. The point is to come on and build a deck and have it do the thing that you intended the deck to do. Because when you look at all of the Disney Lorcana cards, a lot of them do have synergy. And a lot of them do really, really cool things. And especially in a deck of 100 cards or 97 individual cards, there are lines that just happen in a game that will never, ever happen again, no matter what. Or like somebody else will play
especially
a card.
Constructed. Yeah.
Yeah, right, exactly. And so that's kind of how I framed it. And so I reached out to like Garrick of Lorcana Lair and to help me with editing, because I was like, oh, I don't know what I'm doing. I've said a thing. And this is after I had this idea at like 3 a.m. I was like, I'm going to have competitive people come on and play heroic multiplayer. And like, we're just going to have fun, or we're not going to have fun. I have no idea. I haven't played Lorcana multiplayer before. This could be awful. And I sent that idea to
all in. Yeah.
Well, I was like, I don't know. So I sent the idea to Katie and JDZ, and it was like at 3 a.m. and they're like, okay, well, we'll put a pin in that. And like, cause they're they're the busiest humans in the entire world. Yeah. I mean, obviously it was like a, like a weird fever. They're like, okay, she's insane. I'm like, well, yeah, a little bit, but, and I was like, this could be super fun though. And I think cause at the time Katie was doing her like game show thing at like after the ICL, and we were doing like drawing stuff. So it was like, this is really fun Lorcana content. And I feel like a lot of people were like, I don't know, looking for something like that, just to kind of love the game again, as opposed like we're waiting for DLC, which we'll have them announced soon. But like, but I think even when the DLC gets announced, that's going to start another season of grinding and of really intense, just tension, it's great and it's what we live for and it's what we want. But I was like, what if I kind of, before all that gets announced, kind of create an environment where we can just goof off?
Yeah.
And
another outlet, still playing the game, but just a different kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah. And so, finally, at that point, I got Shoutout, who's on, an SLTC with me. And then I got Katie and JDZ to agree to be my first guests on there. I did this kind of, yes, I know. Oh God. Did this promo again, like a shout out to Garrick for helping me edit it. I asked Baker, Lorcana Villain, to I was like, hey, can you do like this voiceover thing? I have this idea. And I've sent him a script and he did a way better job, like absolute amazing professional. Like he sent it back and I was like, oh my God. I was just like, oh my God, it's so perfect. I love it so much. I'm going to use it in every video. I was just like so blown away with how supportive and amazing this community is. Like, I was like, I have this idea and people are like, okay, insane person, here's like, contribute a little bit, but like, we're going to keep doing, because everybody's so busy. Everybody's so busy. I feel, so grateful that they would even take even just a tiny bit of time just to help. But so kind of got all that together, got some people to agree to do it. And we had our first episode and I was like, there's a suggested ban list, but let's go ahead and ignore that. So I want you guys to build. Yeah, like I want you guys to look at all of the cards and build the most degenerate, broken, busted, nasty thing that you think you can do. And I don't know if Katie got the memo for that, but I feel really, really bad for what happened. She's one of the funniest people I have ever met in my entire life. So she just, the episode is hilarious. It's not really Katie just getting boiled like down into oblivion, but it is funny. I mean, I was also getting bullied too. So,
The joys of multiplayer.
I
No,
know,
now we're
but
going to gang up on this person.
yeah.
No, not this person.
Well, and
So,
the thing was, is like the way the episode ends is crazy. The whole, if you watch any of them, I think that's a really good one to start out with, just because JDZ's wonderful, Katie's wonderful, and Shoutout does some of the most unholy things seen in Lorcana to date. And he just found the coolest combos and stuff. And because of that episode, Be Prepared is now banned in the storyboard. You are not allowed to have that song in your storyboard.
no big
And
shock.
A Whole New World cannot have it.
Yep.
You cannot have
That makes
unlimited
sense, too.
access to A Whole New World. It's disgusting.
Yeah.
So, and it's so funny too, because those were the suggested banned cards. And
It's like maybe they were onto something. Yeah.
well, and the funny thing is like, I don't ask people for deck lists before the show.
Mhm.
I just tell them, these are the 2 banned cards. Do the thing you want to do. If you've seen it, try not to use the same hero twice, just so we can see some variety of decks.
Right.
But, but if you come up with like a different, like if you have just a different idea for the deck, then okay, fine, that's fine. I really don't want to limit people, because that was the whole point, was I want you to look at the cards and play something that you want to play. And,
Flexibility and creativity.
yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely, because again, like I've asked some of like who I consider some of the best deck builders in the game to come and goof off. So I don't want to like put another limitation. It's like, other than the Whole New World, you can't have that card. But so yeah, there's been some really, really cool things that happen. Like I am absolutely scared of the Family Madrigal package. That is one of the most broken, busted things I have ever seen in my entire life. I was like, oh my goodness. We did get cooked by microbots at one point, and that was terrifying. Vision Slab is hysterical and terrible. So all of these things, and like Rescue Rangers Submarine.
Something probably a lot of people don't even remember out there. It's like,
yeah, card is horrifying. Don't let it sit on the table. And then there were 2 different games where I played a turn 1 Merlin's Cottage, and everybody just opted not to take it out. So we just played everybody agreed to just leave it there, and we all played with the top card of our decks revealed the entire time. And that was the first time was like hilarious. The second time was the Maelstrom episode, and I think that one is like a really, really amazing one too, because Luke pops off, and also too, like, again, it's Maelstrom, so highly competitive team. Luke's DLC winner, R&B, pretty like national top cut, like, you know what I mean, like Zenulus as well. Like, I mean, these are very, very, very good players, and we're all playing with the top card of our decks revealed. So not only are we trying to formulate what our plan is going to be, we know the majority of the cards in everybody's hand, and we now know what you're going to be playing next turn, or at least drawing for turn. So there, it's a lot of information to keep up with, and I almost drown in the game, but Luke was incredible. Luke was absolutely, it was watching his turns. It was very, very cool. It was very cool to see how he could kind of assess the entire board situation, which at this point there's 3 extra people to assess.
Right.
And then utilizing in his cards, and then remembering what we had, and then like, okay, well, if you draw that card, then you like, it was really cool to see his thought process, even just in a casual setting.
Yeah, I'm sure.
So.
I mean, when they're a good player, they're a good player, right? I mean, it's just more people to have to keep up with, and some people that just clicks in their head. And personally, one person is more than enough for me to keep up with. So I don't know how multiplayer would go. It might be a little dicey, but yeah.
Oh, I've never won a game of Heroic. Not once. Not even close to winning a game. I mean, maybe in the episode with Lorcana Villain, Harlan Suite, and then Alley Suite. I feel like I was almost there.
Yeah.
But no, still like, but that's the thing, is like, winning is really not what I'm trying to accomplish. I want them to do the thing. And there's been people that I was like, oh no, like they got to do the thing one time, and like then they got stopped, and then they didn't really draw any. And so I start to feel bad. Like maybe they're not having a good time. And then I'll ask at the very end, I'm like, okay, like, do you feel like you did the thing? And I'm almost scared to ask. And they're like, oh yeah, because I got to do this, and I got to play these 2 cards. And at one point I had this on the board, and then I bounced this, and I have never gotten to do that before. And I'm like, oh my God, you did have
Like,
fun. Like,
okay,
yeah,
cool.
like I was,
We're
I
good.
was, yeah, because like, I don't have a ton of experience of the multiplayer situation in this game. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
I guess I kind of do, but
Well, now
not
you
not a
do. Now
ton.
you have a couple of
Yeah,
episodes. You're
yeah, like
fifth episode now, right?
yeah, yep.
Yeah.
I'm in the middle of editing the sixth one, which
Okay.
I've been putting off for a couple days. But yeah, I'm in the middle of editing that. So yeah, it's been overwhelmingly positive. I think only one person has gotten a little upset, but
Okay.
it's in all fairness, he deserved to be upset. Basically, someone was going to win, and then they did something about 2 to 3 times with "Do It Again" and, another card that shall not be named,
Okay.
and we all kind of silently, collectively decided that he wasn't going to win the game because of it, and
Oh
so,
no. They
uh
all turned on him. Yep.
yeah, just a little bit, and then, we did the whole kingmaker situation, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate, and then I also mistook one card for another card, apparently Cobra, giant cobra. It's not a Jafar, so
Is
it's
it
good to
not?
know.
Oh.
Giant cobra is not a Jafar,
Huh. Okay. Good to know.
but
I mean, it
yep,
seems like it should be, but
it's
okay.
not. It's not a Jafar. It does not have the Jafar tag on it. Does not count. So that's on me. But yeah, and I think, but those are the kind of like the funny things that happened, and I think Harlan said it at one point. He was goldfishing his deck before the episode, which I just it made me so happy to hear that. And
Yeah.
Harlan Sweet is very well known for Sapphire Steel.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the first questions he was like, "Is Hiram and Fortisphere banned?" I was like, "No, it's a different format. I don't."
It's like, yes.
Yeah, he's like, "Oh my," and so Allie was like, "He's been goldfishing all day," and he was like, "No, it's cool because you're like, oh wow, if I pull this and I have that, and then I do this, it does this really cool thing. I'm never gonna see it again
Yeah.
because am I ever gonna draw this sequence of cards ever again? Maybe, maybe not. But that was really
Maybe.
fun, so
Yeah. 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 That
and I
sounds like
think
a good time. Yeah.
yeah, and it was interesting because I know Fumbles was on this last episode, and we were all testing before we recorded, like I don't know, it was like a week or two or something like that. And we were just testing, and he was having such, when you have this just like such a bad day, like
Yeah.
you're just like, why do I play this game? And I cannot draw well. And was I a serial killer in a past life? Because my
Yep.
luck is so bad that this must be karma for something I don't. And he was just having one of those days where he's like, I'm just needed a break, and I felt we just all get in those things, and
Yeah. Oh yeah.
then we filmed our episode and he was like laughing and giggling the entire time, and he was doing such mean things, but like at the same time it was so cool.
It's probably why. It's probably like,
Yeah, I mean, but he's like, haha,
yes.
yeah, exactly. And like I said, it was just nice to see him, even though he was bullying us, like kind of having fun with the game again,
Mm-hmm.
um and just having kind of like that outlet.
Yeah.
So
That freedom.
it's yeah, like and it's really really nice, but it's
Cool.
been fun.
So this is your first content creation experience, I guess. So you mentioned, earlier having some help with editing and all that kind of stuff. What's been probably the most difficult thing for you as a part of creating this? I mean, besides the hours of editing, I guess, but
Yeah, I was gonna say the
that's,
editing.
yeah, well, yeah, that kind of goes with it, especially for gameplay. I've noticed, that takes so much longer than, something like this where it's more conversational and everything. But anyway,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's I was gonna say, yeah, no, it's because we have like there's 4 people talking. So like there's
yep,
times where like, I'm like, okay, everybody, you have to kind of like if somebody's trying to take their turn, and so there's stuff that I want to edit out of the video, but somebody's taking a pivotal part of their turn, and that's where the audio is. So then I haven't like I'm like, can I isolate their and it's like, oh my
hmm
gosh. So yeah, editing has been interesting to say the least. But I as far as it goes, like what would be like the hardest thing, I guess, is what it
yeah,
is that
yeah,
the kind of
or the
mm.
biggest hurdle that you kind of had to overcome as a part of it, or are still working on, honestly.
for me, it was deciding whether to do it or not in the first place. Like, is this even a
That's a
good
big choice.
idea?
Yeah.
I, I just kept talking to people, and the majority of it was like, we do not want to play multiplayer. You are insane. And I'm like, okay. And then I had other people being like, I think this is a good idea. I think you should do it. I think you should. And it was just like, or like, I at one point I was working with Garrick, and he's like, I have this really cool idea for a part of the video. And it's to do this like Marvel-esque kind of like fighting style poster for the game, like for the intro.
Right.
And he's like, you just need 4 people to take a picture in a fighting pose. And I was like, I have to do what? Like, what?
Like, I have to
And
ask
so
people to
like,
do something. I can't just use a photo and,
exactly.
yeah.
I know. I was like, oh no. Well, and to be honest, we couldn't find the last person. So the
Oh
person that
no.
inspired this photo was actually Dick Burns and
Yeah.
I think it's Sean from Ink Inc. They have like this like kind of like duking it out like photo from like a top cut at a tournament. And so
Okay.
then we ended up using the photo of Dick Burns, and then like afterwards he's like, I don't remember being in this. I was like, I'm so sorry, but like it's like
I just grabbed it.
I
It's okay. It was public anyway.
I was like,
So
I'm sorry, I'm sorry. I was like, I asked Melissa about it, and she said you probably wouldn't mind. So yeah, but then I was like, okay, I like reached out to a couple people, and everybody's so busy, and it's like
yeah.
you're asking for this like weird off the wall thing, and so I got like a couple people to do it in the Discord, which I got Boomy Jr. did it, and like he had like a roll of something, and like I mean like really went in when they did it. J Bomb did it. It was so he has like a hot dog in like the thing, and then then we have Dick Burns in there as well. And the last picture I was asking R&B, but he was like at work, and he's like, I'm in my work clothes. I'm like, you work in an office, you probably look really nice, just take a picture of you fighting an office employee and we'll edit them out and it'll be fine,
Fighting an office
and
employee.
I don't know, I was like, just snap one really quick, because I'm trying to get this thing, and like Garrick was helping me edit it and all this stuff. And so finally I reached out to Zach Bivens, and I was like, hey, I know you're another one of the most busy people in the entire world, but like, would you take a photo of yourself doing like a fighting style pose thing? It's for and he was like, oh, okay, like if I have time. I was like, well, it's just like a quick one, it doesn't have to be extra or anything. And he was like, and I sent him like a few of the photos of what everybody else did.
Yeah.
I was like, you don't have to be extra. And he was like, I absolutely do. So I was like, oh no, like, oh no.
Like, what am I going to get back from him? Oh no.
No. And it was just like a picture of Zach Bivens. He has like a Beyblade, like the thing, and like a dual disc or whatever. And I was just like,
yeah,
oh my God, this is the coolest photo in the entire world. And like, so like even that, I was like, even if this project never works, I have some of the coolest photos in the entire world,
Yeah,
because I got my friends to do fighting style poses. And it's honestly like, they were like, oh, J-Bon was like, yeah, my wife said that like we had to redo the photos because that like the hot dog wasn't in it enough or whatever. So and then like
something you
Boomy
don't
was
hear
like,
every
he
day.
had like, I know, like, because it's J-Bomb. So and then like Boomy had like a couple different things. He had like just like a fighting one, then he had like a roll of like Christmas like wrapping paper in one, and so I just kept thinking, I was like, and then of course like Bivens has like a dual disc, so I was like, this is one of the coolest things that have ever happened. Like and they all sent
It's
me
a
multiple ones,
sign
like, is
is
this
what it is.
okay? Yeah, it was just like I know they had fun with it, because like they like J-Bomb was like dressed up, and he had his hot dog, and he like I think he like texted his wife, he's like, do we still have those summer sausages? And it just became like a thing where like I could just imagine these men and their wives being like, okay, well, bring the hot dog a little higher. You know what I mean? It
Bring the
just like
hot
it was
dog a
just
little
something,
higher.
I don't know, like it was just something so endearing about like they got into it, they got their wives into it, and like it just became like this kind of thing. So of course it's like now one of my favorite photos, and then Baker coming in doing the voiceover, and then Katie helping me do the rules, and like, so like I said, even if the show itself didn't do anything, that was like one of my favorite experiences ever. And so the fact that the show is kind of doing well is just beyond cool, because the people I've met are really the reason I'm still playing this game. So
Yep. Yeah, it's really cool. I mean, the amount of like just openness in the community of, other creators, of, players, of, pretty much everybody. like for this show, I don't know if I've ever had anybody that just flat out said no for, when I asked them to come on and talk with me. I think there's been a couple of them that have been like, well, okay, maybe later because I'm busy,
Right. Yeah. Right.
but
As you,
yeah,
as
and
it happens.
or asking for help, asking other creators, hey, I saw you did this cool transition. How'd you do that? Can you show me
Oh
how
yeah,
to use this
I'm in
tool? So
I bug Garrett constantly. I bug him so much. I'm like, I owe him like 6 coffees and other things of that nature. So, but yeah, shout
yeah,
out to like literally like everybody. Like it's been a really incredible experience. And like I said, even if it didn't do well or wasn't going to do well, even just like that experience of creating and like coming together with all those people and just like the enthusiasm and everything, it's been really cool.
yeah.
So
So, if there was one thing that if somebody was starting out new with content creation, since you're kind of new to the game, I'm sure you've hit a couple of roadblocks along the way. If there was one gotcha that you would say to look out for, what would that be?
I have no idea. I guess
It's okay. I mean, it's all right if there's nothing
like
that sticks out.
maybe trying to do things alone. Maybe I guess
That's
like
that's a good one.
or you know I guess it is like a slippery slope because you're like, oh, like I've made these friends. I don't want to like exploit my friends or whatever. But like
Right.
like again, like find people that are like open and willing to help. But
Yeah.
at the same time, it seems like you said like most people are very willing to help and
Mhm.
um just in general, it's been a much more pleasant community than the Magic community. Anyway, so just, just
Oh
yeah, I was
yeah.
like, and I think that was like what had, yeah. Anyway, that's a whole other video. But yeah, I guess just reach out, like if you don't know something, and you can ask, and
Hmm.
and
Yeah.
I think because everybody was so amazing for me, it made me want to do that for other people too. Cause like, I don't want to stop the change. It's like, oh, okay, like, I asked all these amazing people and they donated their time and their effort and things like that. And then so if somebody comes to me, now I want to make sure that they're also going to do well
Yep.
and that they can succeed and try just as hard as I did to kind of do the thing they want to do. So I think just having that environment is really cool. So just ask for help.
Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing the boost that you can get just by reaching out to somebody else and even just commiserating, just saying like, "Oh my gosh, I have been editing for 5 hours now,"
Yeah.
and to have
I know
somebody
this one.
else say, "I feel your pain." It
I
goes a long
uh
way. So,
I definitely was like I was editing at one point and I like threw it in the chat and I was like, so, I know that like if you've ever been on my show, I know we only spent like 2 to 3 hours with each other, but if the next time I see you I'm acting like literal like you're my family, it's because I've spent 12 hours editing this video and
yep.
we're now siblings. So,
Yeah.
like in
Yeah.
my
Yep.
head, we're now related. So, because I've been
Yep.
listening to your voice for 12 hours straight. So,
Tweaking the
yeah.
little things and yep.
Yeah, and, like, going in and cutting the ums and the uhs out and the tanking because
Yep.
we're you playing a game and you're just tanking, and
Yeah.
I'm so bad at it. I would just, like, because 'cause I'm trying to decide, what do I wanna do? Am I trying to win this game? Am I trying to facilitate this person to have a little bit more fun? Because I feel like they haven't really like, I'm also trying to, like, balance what's going on in the game,
Hmm.
like, because, like, this person's about to run us over, so I didn't this person didn't get to do, you know what I mean? It's almost like being a host of like a dinner
Oh
party where
yeah.
I'm like, "Is everybody, like, enjoying yourselves?
Everybody having
Okay,
a good
well,
time,
yeah, does
Yeah.
anybody need, like, an extra dragon fire? You look like you do. Okay, you look like you need a
Just
dragon
slip it
fire."
right in.
Yeah,
Just put it right
exactly,
there.
yeah. Yeah, your board looks like it needs a dragon fire. Okay. So, I don't know, that's, kind of have been it's just a lot. It's a lot to go through, and it's a lot to edit, but it's a lot of fun too, especially to watch that back and take out all of that tanking and take out all of that like decision making and like things like that to where you can condense it down and you're like, oh wow, like this was super fun,
Yeah.
like it,
Yeah. Yeah. You go through the end
yeah,
result and you're like, hey,
yeah,
this was actually pretty cool.
like we're hysterical. No, you know what I mean? Like yes, it's like, oh my God, we're so funny. No, I'm just kidding. But
Yeah.
like, at that in process, you're like, wow, this was like really, really, it was just worth it. It was fun. So Yeah, ask for
Nice.
help. Don't
Nice.
stop. You know what I
Don't
mean?
stop. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's well, and honestly, that's one of the hardest parts I've found. It's like after a while, it kind of like if you're not doing it for the passion of it and really enjoying it, it's gonna be a chore and it's gonna be
Oh
something
yeah,
that,
that's
you're just like, ugh, I have to record again this week. Oh my gosh. Yeah.
well, that's why I was like, I think I wanted to record it because I was like, again, I'm like, my friends are hilarious and they're super talented and they're stuck in these dark caves and they're just testing all day. Like, let's have fun. And then also too, like, I think people want to see this. They want to hang out with these players. They want to
Yep.
see, because they know that they know that Ed and everybody else can walk into a tournament and just straight win. But like, what does it look like if like Luke is just like hanging out, playing a game?
Yep.
He's a person too, like
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
so it kind of like I think people would want to watch this.
And they
So
do. So that's
yeah,
good.
right. But
Well, so speaking of meeting people and other famous players in the community, one of the things you also do is a lot of casting for tournaments.
oh
Um,
yeah, I do that.
you're all like humble about it. It's like, oh yeah, 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 I do that. I do that on the side. It's nothing. Yeah, yeah, no, it is not nothing. So I'm curious, how did you get started doing that? Why branch into that outside of just playing the game?
So I hmm, I think it's because honestly, like shout out, I know he's like mentioned his name 1,000 times. Wonderland, like Luke is an incredible person, and the work that he does for the community is outstanding. In what him and Impact and everybody are doing with the ICL and and
Hmm.
Katie and JDZ and like literally everybody involved, and I love what they did for the community. They took this desire to see high level competitive, like core constructed gameplay, and gave it to everybody. And
Hmm.
it's the most work I have ever seen any human put in, and I can't even get OBS to work on a good day. And Luke is literally casting and doing OBS, and then also scheduling the next team, and then they're doing player meetings, and he's getting the judges, and now on all the like, it's an incredible production. It's
Yeah.
insane.
Yeah.
And at one point, I think he just reached out to me and was like, "Do you want to cast?" And I was like, "Eh," you know.
Uh,
And
yeah.
because I was like, "Oh, people are gonna look at me," and I don't know. So, and then he asked again, and I was like, "You know what? I think I had done." Lorcana Villain had reached out to me to do a Ladies of Lorcana
Hmm.
video, and it had Rebecca Quests, it had Ali Sweet, and then it also had Melissa Lizard Kitty from TFM.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And so reached out to me and was like, "Hey, like I want you. We're gonna do like this Ladies of Lorcana video, and I'm just gonna hang out and interview and ask you about questions. And I just want to kind of like celebrate some women, and because I think it was like National Women's Day, or it was kind of close to that. And so the queens of Lorcana, which was cool, and he had this themed of like he was the magic mirror in the middle, and he was talking to all of the queens. But it was a very
Oh,
cool
yeah, yeah, yeah. I think I remember
thematic
that one.
kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was really really neat. And so after that, I was like, well, I've already been on camera. I guess I can, sure. And he's like, I just need somebody to fill in. I was like, all right. And so I don't watch sports at all,
Okay.
not even a little bit. So he's like, will you do commentary on this game? And I'm like, what? Like, I don't know. I don't have any. So I was like, I'm just going to hang out and talk about the game. And hopefully that's okay. And I got a lot of really positive feedback. Everybody was like, "Oh, that was really fun and it was funny." Obviously, I was working with I think I was working with JDZ. So,
Okay.
he kind of just makes you
It's a
look
good
good.
good
You know what I mean?
combination. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I mean, and people were like, "That was really fun," and this, that, and the other thing, and they were like, "You should do it." And I'm like, "Oh, okay." So I'll keep doing it. And then I just kept getting really good feedback. I'm like, if I suck at this, you guys have to tell me. You're legally like you
You're
have to tell me if you're a
obligated.
cop. Yeah, like you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Like
yeah.
if I ask you, you have to tell me. So and I just kept getting like little things here and there and like, trying to tweak and be professional and using the proper terms and things like that. And I was like, well, that's all easy, but like what about like do people hate me? They're like, what is wrong with you? Like a lot, but it's fine. But like I before casting, I didn't realize how much I know or don't know about the game, because I'm
Yeah.
constantly testing with some of the best people in what I consider the best players in the world, and I cannot beat most of them. And if I do, it's an accident. You know what I mean? So I will
And bad
go,
draw, and yeah.
oh yeah, their computer shuts off and I win. You know what I mean? Like
Right,
that's
right.
how I win against half of the
Power
people that I
goes out.
play that I play test against. Yeah, exactly. Like, oh,
Yeah.
okay. So, or like we'll be playing and I'm like, oh, like this is what I would do. And they're like, well, if you did this, you lose on turn 5, but if you do this, you could win a turn sooner. And I'm like, huh? You know? So it what? Like you're thinking in like 4D and I'm still playing
Mm-hmm.
checkers. Okay, so that was kind of my experience in the competitive scene. So I was like, why do people don't want to listen to me talk? I'm gonna say the wrong thing. And JDZ will be like, well, Color, what do you think they'll do here? And I'm like, what would Ed do? And he's like, no, I'm asking you. Like, we're here to like entertain, we're here to talk, we want to paint a picture for the
Mm-hmm.
audience. And I think I like said something. I reached out to Baker again and I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, and I was like, I feel like I have like intrusive thoughts and I just say like unhinged things and then I'll go back to the game or whatever. And he was like, I have made an entire career off of intrusive thoughts. So, and I was like, oh, okay. Okay, that's cool. Like, so
Like, it's
yeah,
not so
it
bad
just
now. I
kind of,
don't feel bad, yeah.
yeah. And, like you're there to entertain, you're there to tell a story, like
Mm-hmm.
if your brain works like Ed or Sailor or Luke or any of these people, you'd just be at Worlds. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah,
so,
yeah, I know
so
exactly.
just, yeah, like you would just be at the top table. So you're doing commentary though. So just do commentary. And I was like, okay. So, and I truly love it. I get to watch Lorcana all day. I get to talk about it all day. I get to be a little ridiculous because like if we're in a serious testing mode, I can't be like, look, there's 2 Ursulas. It's like, do you think like what do you think they're talking about right now? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. It's
you
like,
can't
gotta be a
you
little.
can't be that person. I know, right? Yeah, you gotta lock in a little bit more. But like when
Yeah,
I'm watching these games and like somebody's tanking or like and there's like some, there's like a pause. I can talk about the mat. I can kind of like let those
yeah,
thoughts that I normally just kind of have just kind of go. And then somebody will do something really cool and I'm like, oh, but if they did this and then they did this and then they could pull this and like, and it just like I didn't realize how much knowledge I just kind of had rattling around. Now am I
mm-hmm.
utilizing it in the best way possible? Literally no, not even a little bit. I think at one point on stream I was like, oh no, if he draws a whole new world he can just sing it with Rhino. And like JDZ and Garrick were like, no, he
It,
can't. And
what?
and then like,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's like,
like he's a 4-drop. And I was
uh,
like, so like
hey, it
things
happens
still
to
happen.
everybody.
Yeah, like things
Yeah.
things still happen, but
Oh yeah.
you know, it's again like with the allies on the other side and then the casting, it's just there's like another dimension to this game and this community that I was like, there's something for everyone. And it's
Oh
been
yeah.
really cool.
Yeah,
And then I
definitely.
think then I had the casting thing and I'm just like obsessed with it. I'm like a weirdo, like studying cards, like, in my free time. And I have the memory of a goldfish, so retaining none of it. But
It's going into the subconscious is what it is. And then, when
yeah,
it needs to come out, it'll come out.
maybe not, who knows. But it's been really, really fun. And then, the show, and then it's and then when I do play competitively or something like that, I'm like, oh yeah, like I just played on the Questlmania, the Lorcana Heat. They're doing like this little penny
Mm-hmm.
pincher tournament where you build a deck that's under $30. So I immediately went and asked because they roll for your color pairing, and I got Sapphire Steel. So I immediately ran and was like, ran to Justin, ran to
Yeah.
Jack Shadows and Harlan both, and was like, what do I do?
Mm-hmm.
And so Justin built like this deck, and then I was played it on stream, and I was like, oh, I won, and they were like, of course you won. I was like,
It's like, it's a good deck. You're a good player.
oh yeah, and I was like, no, I don't play Lorcana, but like it's so
Play Lorca.
yeah,
I comment for it, that or and cast for it.
yeah.
Then.
I'm like, no, and I'm like, oh, okay, cool. But so yeah, it's just like it's just another facet, another way to kind of enjoy the game, and
Nice.
it's been really awesome.
Yeah, I have the utmost respect. I've said this to some of the folks in the past that have been on that do the casting. I have the utmost respect for people that do that because you share your concerns about being able to recall things or think on your feet about that stuff. I don't think I could do that. So much respect to you and to the other folks that do it. It's and like you said, people approach the game different ways, and they find their niche, and and settle in, really, and so it sounds like you're progressing as a caster, spending some time potentially outside of the casting, working on skills. I don't know. Do you do you
What do you mean?
practice, do you practice cast games, or do you?
So it's actually really funny because so JDZ and I actually traveled out and we did the Ink Invitational. So we were
Right,
actually
yeah.
there. So we flew out to Baltimore, or a little bit outside of Baltimore. We would be like, we're going to Baltimore, and they're like, you're not in Baltimore, and I'm like, but it's like right there. But so it's
Yeah.
like, so we went out. So Ink had us come out, and we actually casted a live tournament with there in the booth with Garrick. And so I remember the weeks leading up to that, it was going to be for the release. It's going to be a week after the Reign of Jafar. I was
Okay.
freaking out because I was like, I'm going to be in person, and it's going to be a new set, and there's going to be these new cards, and people could play. They could play anything, and I'm not going to know anything. So I spent weeks just studying Reign of Jafar cards that I thought would even be kind of playable, because I didn't want to sound like I didn't know what I was talking about. And when I showed up, I was like, for sure that I wasn't going to know what I was going to talk. That I still didn't know what I was going to talk about. But I think it was like a couple days beforehand, I was like, I just wanted to reach out to JDZ because I was like, we're going to be casting together. And at this point, I think it was maybe public that he was going to also cast Worlds. And so I was like, okay, I don't want to mess you up, because I know that there's a flow, especially there's going to be 3 of us casting. So how are we going to kind of create this flow to where it doesn't sound like this mess of everybody kind of going over each other? And he's like, do you watch sports? And I'm like, no. And he's like, oh God, so suggested that I watch some sports commentators, or find just kind of doing research that way. And then was also kind of talking about different things that ways that we could develop this flow and everything. And I forgot what I was going to say. You can just edit this part out. Hold on. What was the original question? I'm so sorry.
Honestly, it was about practicing off
Right.
camera,
Okay.
that kind of stuff.
Okay. Yeah.
I'm not going to edit that out, by the way. It's your stuff.
Yeah, I don't. That's what I said. Memory of a goldfish. Okay. And so during that conversation, I was like, yeah, I've been kind of doing my own thing. And he's like, yeah, I'll kind of. And so basically, I admitted, I'm like, I will sit in Discord while they're testing, and I will mute myself, and I will deafen myself, and I will just cast their games while they're playing.
Nice.
And JDZ was like, I do the same thing. And I was like, yes, okay, cool. I'm not crazy, because I'm just in my room. I'm literally in here, just, and they're playing, and I'm just casting it. And it's kind of, at first I was like, I feel silly, it's silly, but then it just kind of you get used to the sound of your own voice, which is a horrible thing. You have to get used to. That was one of the worst things, listening back to my own voice. I'm like, blah. But yeah, it was kind of interesting to find out he was doing the same thing, just sitting in Discord like a weirdo, just kind of talking to yourself and casting your friends' games as they're playing, when they have no idea that you're doing it.
You should unmute and cast it while they're playing.
Oh my God, no. I just get absolutely perma-banned from the Discord immediately. Like, get out of here. Shoot.
Yeah.
But
now that you've got a couple of big events under your belt and lots of ICL and all that, you're established. It's not like you're just some random person coming in and talking.
No, it's still. No, they're locked in. They're focused. They don't need to be singing Disney songs and making stuff up on the fly. They're looking for actual input at that point.
I mean, honestly, there's times in games that you got to fill the time, right? There's some judge call or something, trying to figure out what's going on. What better time to start singing Disney songs? I mean, honestly.
I mean, yeah. I think, gosh, I can't remember which one was casting. You're like, oh, if you sing a song with a character, I think it's when we were playing on the Reign of Jafar, the palace heist thing,
Mm-hmm.
for Lorcana Villain. It was actually his birthday. That's what he wanted to do on his birthday. I thought that was the coolest thing in the world.
Nice.
He just wanted to play, do like a D, like run Palace Heist as a D&D session, essentially.
Oh, okay.
And it turned out being one of the coolest experiences I've ever had. It was so fun because we did like role play, like it was very much like a D&D thing, but we built our decks to kind of run with the Palace Heist thing. And I thought it was so fun. And he was like, oh, well, if you sing a song with a character, you kind of have to sing it in the style of is as if that character was singing. And I was like, first of all, I can't sing in the first place, let alone mimic the character singing A Whole New World,
Well, that's
like
half the fun though.
yeah. No, I know. It's like, but like that's kind of, and that's like another thing that I've noticed, like all of the casting and stuff that I'll do, like there's so many people that are so talented. They're so talented. So like I'll get in the booth with these people and they're like theater kids and they like have these amazing backgrounds and they're so talented. And then I'm like, I got nothing. Like I got nothing. I can't sing. I can't even remember the last game, like color pairing. Like I'm just happy to be here, guys. Thank you. Like so.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like
Yeah.
thanks for having me.
Yeah. Cool. So I do want to ask, we do have Worlds coming up, right?
Mm-hmm.
There'll be some DLC announcements that'll happen. They've already said that. Do you think we're gonna get any more news? And I'm curious, what do you think it might be? I'm springing this question on you. This wasn't
I
on the
know.
list,
It's like,
so.
like what do I think about? Like what do I think their announcements are going to be?
Yeah. I mean, there's gonna, surely there's gonna be something else besides just DLCs. I'm hoping, I'm
Hopefully, we
hoping
get
there'll be some other stuff. Yeah.
a little bit more information on like the Infinity format. I think that's going to be like a big deal. I
Mm-hmm.
know that like that was another draw for me in like kind of creating like the heroic show is like because of rotation. Like, what am I going to do with my cards? Well, you don't really want to put them in a heroic deck, but you can,
Yeah.
So I think that there'll probably be a little bit more clarity, a little bit more information, hopefully, on the Infinity format, which would be very nice because I know that like it was like people were kind of divided. They're like, oh, like I am like over the moon excited for rotation. I cannot wait because it does feel like another like, haha, get rid of these other cards. I'm tired. Like I don't want to play with these toys anymore. I want these new toys. Like I'm
Exactly.
excited. But other people are like, oh no, like what if they don't reprint this and that? So like I think this coming up is going to be a really another potentially anxiety filled time where we're all just the meta is just going to go bleh. So
Yep.
I think maybe some more clarity on the Infinity format to where people will have like a nice little home to go to just in case, and like they can maybe outline how much support that they're willing and going to do for that format as well. Because I know that Legacy is very, very popular in Magic the Gathering. It's also very expensive. It's very expensive.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
So
there's some pretty expensive Lorcana decks already, so.
Right, and it's like, well, what am I supposed to do? Like, and I like that they came up with this format, but I do want to know just a little bit more of it because is this a format that like, do I want to just play Infinity format? Do I want to stick with core constructed? Like how, and that's something that we all get to decide in the future. So a little bit more information on that would be nice.
Yeah, definitely. I know there's a lot of people that have concerns about like the official support for Infinity, whether it's going to be, an actual like thing at DLCs, or if it's just going to be like this side event, or if it's just going to be a community kind of thing, or, like you said, it's all kind of up in the air right now. So
right, and and I know I think it's like even like with the Pro Tours of Magic the Gathering, they like alternate. Like it'll be a standard Pro Tour one year, and then it's like they'll do like modern, and then they'll also do legacy. But yeah, but like what I mean, like the formats kind of like rotate with the Pro Tour.
mm-hmm.
So like maybe there'll be like some kind of something like that. I don't know. I think it would be fun.
Yeah, there's honestly, there's all sorts of possibilities now. Now that that's a thing, there's we just need to find out
they
what they
threw
want to do
limited
with
in
it.
Worlds, so thanks.
Yeah.
It's like thanks to Candio, but like so like I think shout out. But yeah, it's which I love. I love the idea of that. It's like if you're going to be the world's greatest, your world champion, you better be good at all of Lorcana, and I do love that. So, I think the community has been pretty divided, and I've seen a decent amount of negativity. I think that's also like part of my hope with the show is to kind of combat some of that negativity and be like, hey, there's other outlets, competitive, crazy people. Like, and I can say that because I'm one of those people, there's other things that we can be doing within the game while we wait for this period. But I think this period is happening because they're building up to what the future is going to be. And we're going to have bumps in the road, but I think this is going to be probably, we're all going to look back on this time and be like, remember when we didn't have a lot to do and we weren't super stressed all the time? Didn't have like DLC then here and I have to travel and I have to come, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like we're going to look back on this time and be like, wow, we were so relaxed or whatever, so like they'll give us stuff and we're going to get more stuff. And then they're going to continue to give us stuff because I think they have a very big interest in keeping this game alive. And I think we're all just insane enough to stay here and wait and see what's going to happen.
Yep.
So
definitely. Yeah. I'm looking forward to the future of the game. It seems like, in listening to them talk at the Lorecast and listening to, everything that Ravensburger has shared, they definitely have plans. It's just got to be patient. We got to wait for it to trickle out, I guess.
Well, I think it was like Atlanta. They were like, hey, if we can prove that this silly trading card game is going to be worth it, then maybe we'll get a little bit more backing and we'll get some more resources and we'll get, and then after Atlanta, Disney went, wait, hold up. What are you guys doing? That seems, well, hold up. And so we've kind of seen that. And also too, I feel like as Disney likes to do things well. They like to do things well. And if things are not going well, it seems like maybe that was what it was, is it need to be pulled back in and reined in and cleaned up and polished. And now that it's going to be polished and they have good ideas and they've got like everything hopefully working better behind the scenes, then they're going to be like, okay, now here it is again. Here's the dream and the vision. It's a little bit more polished and things are going to work a little bit better this time. So that's what I like to believe.
I didn't really think about it, but the way that they're presenting Fabled, it almost seems like it's that kind of thing, right? Rotation hits, it's a new set. It's kind of this, like, I mean, think about the Lorecast, the one that they did, the long one a while back, where it was, it was like predominantly Fabled there for a while, and then they were like, oh yeah, and Reign Jafar. We're going to talk about that a little bit too.
Right.
But it feels like it's kind of not a rebirth, but like that next stage of the game, like it's evolving kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think, I mean, sets are designed so far out, right? And so, they're only getting feedback of like sets 1 through 4 and everything, like kind of like after the fact. And I mean, it's the first year of the game, and honestly, like what it's accomplished in the first year is incredible.
Oh yeah.
And I think the fact that it's Disney has a lot to do with it, but the fact that the game itself is just good. It's just a well-designed game, and they're quick to fix things. Like they were quick to fix Bucky. They let us hold on to Hiram as long as we could feasibly hold on to that card.
Yeah.
We all knew, you know what I mean? Like you knew in the back of your head, this card's disgusting, but you're like, I'm going to play this until they take it away. And then they took it away. So I think that these are all good signs, especially from the design standpoint from it. It's some of the best art I've seen.
Oh, yeah.
in a trading card game, which I haven't seen a ton, but like I'm just saying, like in comparison to it's the art is stunning. So I think they're doing everything well. They just needed to polish some things and account for how insanely obsessed we all are and how much we want and how much we're demanding, because it's a lot. And
it is.
I think they want to give it to us. They had to figure out how first.
Yep. Get more people, get more resources, get more structure. Yep. I think they're getting that all in place, which is good. So.
Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, hey, Color, thank you so much for spending some time with me. I really appreciate it. And it's been great to chat with you over lots of different topics, all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah.
So I like to end my show by asking the same 4 questions of everybody. So the first one is favorite ink and card right now.
It's if you would have asked me this like during my like exceedingly competitive portion, I would have said it's like Ruby, and it's just Big Sisu. I love that card. And I love that. But for right now, ever since this like whole kind of just like my heroic experiences and like multiplayer and everything. I mean, I've always loved Amethyst. Like Ruby Amethyst is like that's my deck. I mean, I'm one of those people, but like I love Amethyst as like a color. I just love it. It's so fun. All of the cards, and my favorite card right now is Bruno, the Undetected Uncle.
Oh yeah,
And
yeah.
where you exert him and then you name the top card of your deck. Well, I guess maybe it's Bruno, but it's mainly like it's like Ursula's Cauldron. It's those two cards together. So maybe less Bruno and more Ursula's Cauldron. So that card
okay.
brings me so much joy. Like, and there's a point where I had like Ursula's Cauldron and the Sorcerer's Hat out together, and I have never had more fun in my entire life. I didn't even come close to winning the game, but I always knew it was on the top of my deck.
Yeah.
And yeah, so I think it has to be like Ursula's Cauldron right now, because it's just like I just get to exert it and like, oh, yep, there we go, you know. So the card is amazing. It's my favorite.
Cool. All right, professed Disney fan, favorite Disney movie and why?
I don't love this question. Let's see.
You can have more than one. I've had some people that have named an
like,
older
I have
Disney
a classic.
movie
Yeah,
and
it's
a
like
new Disney movie.
yeah. That's kind of like
that's
where
fine.
I'm at.
That's perfectly
it's
acceptable.
Like, like classic Disney movie. I like Aladdin and Hercules like a lot. Like I think Aladdin and Hercules are like two of my favorite for as far as like the classic ones. And then in like newer ones, I don't know. I really like Frozen, and I really like Encanto was very good. It was a really, really good one. I'm sure I'm forgetting them right now, but yeah, like it's so like it's honestly it's the soundtrack from Encanto is incredible.
Oh,
and I like
absolutely.
I like the Goofy movie too. That's another like throwback one. So
yeah, nice. Yeah, I get that one a lot too.
Yeah, it's very, very good.
It is a good movie. Okay, next, give a shout out to your favorite LGS or LGSs.
Oh, I was like, favorite. Don't do this to me.
Yeah, just one. You can only name one. All the others will get offended.
Yeah, right. Let's see. I really like Sunshine Games. They're a little bit far for me, so I don't get to go as much anymore. But I really like them. It's where I met Humble and R&B, and they used to play. And like I met DeCandio there as well, Dakota Cotton, and like a few other people. And I think shout out to like them for kind of fostering a very competitive environment. Like there was a lot of places that I went to in the area that were more casual, I think, when the game first came out. And again, it's like it's not fun to like hurt casual people when you're trying to like I'm like grinding on online, and then I build a deck and I bring it to locals, and like I'm hurting people that are nice people that just want to play puppies and princesses. So I really like Sunshine Game because they did do like every weekend it was, or every like week they did like Swiss rounds in a tournament, and everything, and it was just like a proper little kind of tournament thing, and the people that showed up were absolute monsters at the game. So I think without that I don't think I would be as good, or this I wouldn't even know how to play the game. So shout out to Sunshine for kind of like keeping that up.
Nice.
So
nice. Any others?
I do like Crit Hit. It's another really, really good store. A lot of really amazing people go there. It is a more casual environment. I have made someone cry.
Oh no.
But she's like a lovely human being, and I love her to death. And she said she was just having an emotional day, and I was like, it's like, I'm so sorry. And she's like, it's fine, it's not you. And I was like, it feels like it's me. So
like, well, I didn't help. So
yeah, right.
Yeah.
And actually, shout out, that's like one of the stores. Dina is a local of mine who goes to Crit Hit, and love her to death. She actually built the heroic deck that I played in the last episode, because she has kind of fostered a local heroic scene. So that's been kind of cool too, to see that. So at Crit Hit, they are casually playing heroic if anybody wants to go play.
Nice.
Yeah.
And I'll get links to all this stuff so everybody can find these and pick them up really easily. So don't worry about that. Okay, and last question: where can people find you, Alice on the other side, all that kind of good stuff?
So I am on YouTube as Colorislaw. I'm on Twitter, and Instagram is Colorislaw1. It's just like the number 1 afterwards. And yeah, so my YouTube is where you can find Alice on the Other Side. I post a lot of like spoilers or trailers or stuff like on Instagram. You can kind of like, if you just want like little short bits, you don't want to watch the whole episode, you can go on Instagram and you can watch that. Twitter is just where I say really dumb things constantly. So there's no substance there, but you could follow me if you'd like, So yeah, just Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube.
Awesome.
And then on the ICL, and actually,
yes,
in September, they're doing the Ink Open, and it's going to be like twice as big as it was before, but it's open registration, so anybody can come. It's going to be me, and I'm pretty sure JDZ is going to be on site as well, and they're also going to try to get like several more casters that I don't think I'm allowed to talk about, but are just so exciting, because I think the last time it was me, JDZ, and Garrick, and we were kind of crushed in a booth for like 12 hours, and they were like, we want you to have breaks, so they're going to bring in more casters. It's going to be a 2-day long tournament.
Yep.
I think day 2 is going to be in the Infinity format as well. And then they're also going to do like a youth league that I think is like
nice.
certain age and under. So I can get you like that flyer, because it's going to be a very, very exciting tournament. And that is taking place on the 6th of September. So it'll be like a week after Fabled comes out.
Okay. Perfect.
Yeah. So
awesome.
I'm very, very
you'll be studying up between the release and the event.
Thankfully, though, they're like 50% of Fabled is reprints, so I'm locked in. I'm so excited. They were like, yeah, it's good. Like, I was like, how much? They're like 50%. I'm like, yes, I already know half the cards. Haha, So, but I'm gonna have to learn the new art, just because I know the Captain Hook had new art. So let's see if they'll do that again.
I think they said there'll be a couple of those, not too many.
Okay. Well, yeah. I was like, man, I was hoping there were more. I love reprints with new art, because I'm like, woohoo, same mechanic, but like now I get to look at it, or can have options.
You can kind of mix them up a little bit,
Yeah. Well, no, not me.
Well,
not
that, with rotation. I was like,
that's true. Well, no, not me. I was like, it has to fly. It was like, if it's going to be the new art, I'm going to need 4 of the new Captain Hooks. I can't just put I can't mix and match my Captain Hooks. But
yeah,
that's my own personal problem. But yeah, I love alternate art things. It was, I'm excited. I'm very, very excited for Fable.
Cool. So. Yeah, you and a lot of people, myself
included. Yeah, I know. Yeah, you're like Reign of Jafar.
It's just tied us over until Fabled comes around.
Well, and that's the thing too, is like looking at a lot of the Reign of Jafar cards, you're like, this is going to be so good after rotation. And so like, I know like everybody that I talk to, we all have these ideas, but it's like with the caveat of after rotation, and you're like, this card's going to slap in a couple months. You know what I mean? So
just give it time.
Yeah. But not to say, I mean, the meta now is like one of the healthiest it's ever been. Like we have tournaments everywhere, and just different decks are topping different tournaments. So I think that's just a really good sign for the future of the game. So I'm very excited.
Yeah. Well, cool. Well, thank you again so much. I really appreciate it, and we'll see you around the community.
Yeah. Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Well, thanks for listening in to my chat with Colorislaw. If you're thinking about getting into content creation or casting, I hope it encouraged you to take that first step. If you like what you heard, make sure to like, subscribe, and rate this show on your platform of choice. If you'd like to reach out, you can find out more information about the show on LorcanaChats.com, or if you'd like to reach out directly, you can email us at LorcanaChats@gmail.com. Thanks for listening, and we'll see you next time.